Have you ever wondered why in animated shows, when a character gets a brilliant idea, a light bulb appears on their head? I'm going to let this question linger in your minds for a while before I come back to it. In the 19th century, when humankind probed the idea of containing light in a glass enclosure and called it a bulb, it seemed a little far-fetched to imagine a source of light that could be controlled at our own will. Since then, we've come a long way. It's nothing new to know that we perceive nothing but darkness in the absence of light, and when light passes through a prism, it creates a rainbow. We see everything around us because it reflects light, and I fell in love with this phenomenon of lighting a few years ago. So much so that I decided to become a lighting and installation designer. I often get asked how I found myself pursuing such a niche profession. This question takes me back to two light bulb moments I experienced myself. The first was when I was studying in design school in Orléans, and my friends and I decided to go for this magical festival in the south of France called the Lyon Light Festival. It was like diving into a beautiful city filled with amazing installations made by the most talented artists from across the globe. It was something that stayed with me, and I was naturally drawn towards lighting. Cut to my final year in design school, when we had to design a range of furniture for a final thesis project. I was sitting in a quaint cafe, brainstorming on it. The question I asked myself was, what's the one piece of furniture that creates the maximum impact in a space? As I watched the sunset, I saw the lights in the cafe turned on, and I watched the mood of an entire cafe shift instantly, and so did mine. And that's when the realization hit me. The answer I was looking for had always been right in front of me. It was lighting. That very second, something clicked in my mind. And the next, I found myself drowned in research, studying about a phenomenon that was all around me, that I took no notice of because it was so effortlessly present and enabling, but suddenly had all my attention. And little did I know that this was just the beginning of a designer finding her muse and falling in love with it. If I may, design to me is a superpower. It's the power to envision something that doesn't exist and bring it to life, just from a thought to something that physically exists and creates an emotion. Lighting to me is the power to create a mood and play with that emotion. And so I believe that design and lighting really do have a common intersection they meet at and a common goal they achieve. And this belief helps me explore ideas that break silos through my profession. One of my earliest projects, Ab, is an installation that takes inspiration from the garment of the festival of Navratri. When we created this piece, we had no idea it would end up being the second largest installation in the country. The idea behind this piece was for it to be a representation of the brilliance of light and its property of reflection. As simple as that might sound, what makes this piece stand out is the idea that in itself, it wasn't constructed as a source of light, but rather a structure that relies on just reflecting light through the materials used on it, like the 350,000 hand-sewn crystals and the illusion-creating convex mirrors, and through this embodying the concept of light reflection. This as a concept is present all around us. Everything that we are able to see, we can see because it reflects light. Just like the moon in all its glory reflects light from the sun and brightens up a dark night. And this might lead you to believe that the concept of lighting is just visual, and for the longest time I thought so too. But when my curiosity got me spiraling into long hours of research during my earlier mentioned thesis project, I was amazed at what I came across. Lighting, when used right, can affect different aspects of our lives, and most of the times without us even realizing it. Lighting affects certain hormones in the body that affect appetite, and so lighting can affect the amount of food we consume, the speed at which we consume it, and even our perception of flavors of those foods. And so, the hospitality industry uses lighting strategies to a large extent to create desired behavior in their consumers. We're more likely to eat at a leisurely pace in restaurants with softer and dimmer lighting compared to the vibrant lighting in fast food joints that would want their customers to eat quicker and ensure better turnaround time. Now you know what to do when you're hosting and you want your guests to eat and leave quickly. Just change your light settings. Lighting is also a huge part of our daily conversations, like when we say she lights up a room or he has a dark personality. And this is an example of how lighting affects our perception of emotions even subconsciously. In the field of theatre and photography, lighting acts as a critical tool to depict emotions. Imagine a cinematic experience where a character is sad and dejected, but is placed in a brightly lit room with large windows throwing light right in. Do you think such a setting would accurately depict what the character is feeling compared to a dark and poorly lit room? And this goes beyond just emotions. Lighting also affects our body's biological functioning. Our body naturally reacts to certain light hues, such as blue. The reason being, blue light suppresses our body's production of melatonin, a hormone that indicates our body to sleep. And so casinos use this phenomenon largely to their advantage. Their light settings ensure that our body's biological clock cannot understand or assess how much time we've spent playing there, and this versatility that comes with lighting has been used by artists all over the world to craft experiences. Like the Valley Lumina in British Columbia has used the power of lighting to create art in a natural forest using lighting projections. Or the Art Tech Museum Miami that has created a whole other world out of just four bare walls, and that's the power of lighting. Let's pause here for a moment. Let's go back to the question I asked at the very beginning. Why do you think ideas are depicted as light bulbs hovering over our heads? When our brain processes information and has an insight, it produces enough energy to actually turn on a light bulb. Isn't that insane? So, the next time you have a light bulb moment or an idea suddenly hits you, be sure to remember that you produced enough energy to actually turn on a light bulb. And through my light bulb moments, I realized that I wanted to use this beautiful phenomenon of lighting as my medium to express my design. Design is my innate passion, and I love using this passion along with my muse to create physical showstoppers, intriguing experiences, and shift moods and emotions, all stemming out of just ideas. I feel lucky to love the process of creation, from pushing combinations of materials to their limits, to diving into calculations of structural stability, to sculpting the beauty of form, and finally adding light into the equation to spice things up. A designer is nothing without their muse, and I'm so glad I found mine in the form of lighting. To sum it all up, lighting takes us on a sensorial journey, consciously and subconsciously. Lighting can change the facade of a building, create a luxurious experience in a bare lobby, create a cozy vibe in a home, and create a bold pop in a dull space. Lighting has the power to enable our primary sense of vision. It has the power to dictate what we eat, how much we eat, when we sleep, what we buy, and how we feel. Lighting has the power to change your behavior and life, a power that is now in your hands, literally, with the flick of a switch.